So Kim, we on one hand live in a very specialized world where everyone is doing their particular job in their particular industry. They don't really have a lot of cross-pollination. But the other hand, it seems like in the world of fundraising, there would be to be good at it, you might need to fundraise in different organizations for different purposes. So are there some commonalities between different sort of sectors where a fundraiser could draw from working with one industry and apply it to the other? And then are there things that are very much not commonalities where you really can't transfer those? That sector is really different than this sector because, can you
Right.
talk a little bit about
Sure.
commonalities and differences when you're fundraising for organizations?
Absolutely. Absolutely. It's funny that you say that because there's been a lot of crossover I've seen in Fairfield County where, you have many nonprofits doing life-changing work, very, very worthy, but they're doing a lot of the same work.
Okay.
Whereas if they were together and strengthened, they could serve the community better. They could probably serve a more vast part of the community because of that. So I think being in their fiefdoms does not lend itself to real success, and you can see nonprofits fold because of that as well. So I think the number one thing is, if you're in a community, what are the strengths here? The strengths are the mayor knows that you're in his community and supports you. He's invited to board meetings. Your schools, if it's school-based programming, they should know that they're there. They should be represented on your board, or at the very least, bring some kind of partnership together. Really, any of your local government folks, it would be a really good idea to bring them in. Now, I worked for a specialized organization that served only pregnant women,
Hmm.
but the community wanted to come out and help them constantly. And so again, the partnerships in the community made us more visible, even though it was a very small nonprofit, to make big impact. I would say that churches and religious organizations could very easily work together. Private foundations, political organizations, and then really all other nonprofits, there can be crossover. I think I mentioned earlier, if you want to secure maybe long-term funding, having partnerships with other nonprofits really makes sense. And then, as I said earlier, you won't have that duplication of efforts. You'll have those partnerships in place and you're stronger together. And so you'll split the funding, but you're still serving more people. So I hope that answers your question.
Sure. One follow-up to also to talk a little bit about the individual fundraiser. So you said you spent a lot of time as a fundraiser for organizations that worked with pregnant women. Is that true?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yes.
So you've built up a set of skills. You I'm sure have knowledge of that industry, that field, the people, the women, pregnant women, all the things about that particular, I wouldn't say industry, but let's say area or sector.
Hector.
How much of that do you think is transferable to, say, if tomorrow you had to do something completely different, you were going to go fundraise for a gaming industry or for veterans. I work for a veterans organization. So
Right.
let's use veterans organizations. So we're
Yes.
nonprofit organizations that always can use money to further what we do, and we
Sure.
work with veterans. How hard is it for a fundraiser like yourself, who is over in a sector working with pregnant women, to go
Mhm.
over to the veterans? Is it fairly easy, or is it you would never do that because it's too different? How does it work with the fundraising world?
Great question. I think it should be fairly easy because I believe that all of the skills that you're putting towards really any group, whether it's homeless pregnant women, veterans, children,
Yeah.
I think if you again, you've got to do that homework, you've got to do that research, you've got to understand who you're serving and how best you can serve them. And really, it can be applied anywhere. It can be applied for events. It can be applied for grants. It can be applied for individual and peer-to-peer. We go back to storytelling. You
Yeah.
need to be able to effectively tell the story so it moves somebody. It's not just a simple story, right? It's the human. That's when I said we're not selling Coke and Pepsi. We are serving a very, very important group of people. And it doesn't matter what that group is. It's the fact that I need to tell my story so that it moves someone. I need to tell my story so they say, boy, how can I do something to help you? And then go even further and say, hey, will you help us long term? Will you become, a plan giver? Will you go on and ask your family to do this long-term giving and really become a partner in our work because you love what we do. So definitely transferable skills for sure.
It's great to hear that, because what you're saying and what we talked about in the previous conversation was, there are probably things peculiar to a particular industry that you would have to know or you could pick up. But as you said before, those real skills that you need can transfer. Be a good listener, you said,
Mhm.
be tenacious, be a good storyteller, know
Yes,
how to tell stories that have to do with money without being boring or
exactly.
not too complicated. These are
Yeah.
skills that you could pull over. So
Yeah.
everyone, and for audience members, like, you don't have to go into just one area. If you could pick up
Right.
skills, seems like
Ex-
you could raise money for all kinds of different
Absolutely.
organizations if you have those core skills that we talked about. So
Absolutely. Yeah.
great. That's awesome to hear, because I really love what I do too is, there are certain skills to be used in academia or for veterans, but my other skills of instructional design and talking
Yeah.
with people, they can
Sure.
transcend, and I could talk to hope,
To
I'd like to
anyone.
think I could talk to people in different areas to help them build courses and things. So
Yeah.
I like this. It's sort of the same thing. There's
Yeah.
core
Oh,
competencies,
absolutely.
yeah, that transfer. So
It's terrific.
I hope that my audience, if they're interested in fundraising, um, can think about it, and maybe this could bring some new thoughts for them and ideas about doing
Sure.
it. And there is entryways in, if you
Oh,
weren't sure. I could imagine a lot of people would think, I don't know anyone in this field, so how could I ever get into the fundraising world? But there seems to be a lot of ways in if you have
oh,
those,
absolutely.
right?
Absolutely.
And
It's
you like
terrific.
to help people, and you like to help organizations, and you like to tell stories, and you're a little tenacious, and you have a bit of a thick skin, you might do really, really well in the fundraising
Absolutely.
world. So
Absolutely. No, it brings me great joy. I mean, I think I've always believed that, we're put on earth to help others or at least make life easier for others if there's that possibility. And, I don't like to preach and say, it's my Catholic upbringing, but I have to contribute that to my faith. And I would say it's absolutely, I mean, people don't want to talk about church and state, and it gets to be kind of a messy arena. But I think when it comes down to it, it is faith, and it's the desire to help others, and I think fundraisers have good hearts. I do. I think their hearts are a little different than just the average person, but I do think that it would be great for people to understand that yes, it's a business, but it sure is a life-changing one.
sure.
So, and I'd love to answer any questions. Anybody could reach out to me, sure.
That's awesome. And in terms of helping people, the other great part about it from talking to you is, I can really see that there are people who need help, and then maybe there are people who want to help businesses,
Right.
successful businesses
Yeah.
that do a lot, work very hard and spend a lot of time in their business creating whatever it is that they create, that would like to help.
Sure.
But and then there are these intermediaries, these fundraisers that are like, okay, here's how you can help. Here's how you could take some of your profits and do this,
Yeah.
and we could use your funding, because there's a lot of people who make money that want to help but
Right.
don't know who to help, how to help,
Yes.
where the
Yeah.
money's going to go, how it
Exactly.
works. And the
Sure.
fundraisers are that awesome bridge between the
They
people who need
are.
it, the people who have it. And I think
Yes.
it's a wonderful place to be
Yeah.
between those two,
Yeah.
because
I'll
you're
tell you, having those partnerships in a community, talked a little bit about, being close to your mayor and first selectman, the Chamber of Commerce in every city or town is a phenomenal partner. And what the chamber will do will marry those businesses to the nonprofits in the area. People like to know that they're giving right in their own backyard as well. And so that's another reason to have those partnerships be successful, to meet with your chamber on a regular basis. You know, they usually reduce their membership for nonprofits. So if it's 150 a year, it's 50 a year. And it's, again, money well spent, because you'd get that visibility, and then you're really introduced right there to those folks in your backyard. I think of Norwalk specifically, with having so many businesses there, but the smallest of towns also do the same. And everybody, I say, wants to give back a little bit in some way. Some are hands-on, some are not so hands-on, and say, hey, you know, I'd like to contribute year after year. You can count on me. So again, we go back to knowing the community and doing as much as we can to be able to have that visibility and let people know who we are and what we do. So,
Well, it's been a wonderful conversation. You've given us a wealth of information. I'm glad you're out there in the world fundraising for good causes. And I hope someone in my audience, if they get acquire an interest in fundraising from listening to this, I think it would be awesome. And that's why we're doing this, to pay it forward. And if you have any questions, reach out to Kim in the post, and I'm sure she'd be happy to answer anything that you have if fundraising is something you might be interested in. Kim, you brought a whole new sort of, I've not talked to fundraisers, and I think this is a big part of our network. I mean, it's just something people could be interested in. So thank you very much for doing this. I really appreciate it.
Thank you. It's been my pleasure, Michael.
Awesome. Good luck.